Perfect. Perfect. Alright, so I'm just about to drill this VNSS rear disc to the 4-stud pattern of an R31 axle, and I went to do the same trick I did with the GTR front discs, and as I go to line up the holes, if I line up one hole, which is this one, the center bore is offset because the PCD is different. So what I got to do is, I tried to orientate it so that they all lined up on blanks, but they don't. So I've just got to elongate one of these holes just a little bit to get that to bolt in and get this center ring perfect, and then just drill the other 3 holes, and that should all work. So sorry about your lent disc RB factory. I don't feel that bad about it though. Alright, so this is just the same principle as the 32 GTR front calipers, except I had to just elongate this hole a little bit. And then those are the new ones, so they're just 12.5 mils. Alright, so we'll just double check this is the right stud pattern. So we get our elongated one in first, and then evenly. Yeah, looks like I'm a smidge off. Oh, pretty close. I'm sure I could stomp it in. There we go. So that's them all lined up. But you can see it's quite a tight squeeze. So it looks like they're just a little bit off. So there. This one is a little too far that way. I think that's about it. Anyway, I can just compensate with this one. Maybe I don't know, whatever. It goes on. It's pretty hub centric, which is good. So maybe just have to install this one with a hammer. Oh, sorry Arby. Sorry Arvin. Not done the greatest job on your disc, but it'll work. Alright, so we've got the whole thing on and in the correct position. So got these holding it in place, just the wheel nuts. You can see it spins freely and fits through here just nicely. So it's there's a gap on the left side and then a gap on the right side for the disc to spin through. You can see there's a nice tight gap there. Not sure about which bolts to use yet. These ones obviously fit, but I've just cut them off of something random. But the only catch is that I have put 4 washers behind each one of these between the end of the drive shaft and the brake disc. So that means that welding these on here won't work because it puts the disc into the bolt mount. So there's a few options. I could shave this down, not a great idea considering it holds a caliper on. I could run the spacers like I have already here with the washers. I'm not a super keen on that idea, but it does work. Another one is I could weld to the outside of this bracket. So this is a 5mm bracket. So I think 4 washers stacked on top of each other makes up about 6mm. But I have to measure it. But that's a 5mm bracket, so that'll get us within the ballpark. It will be 1mm worse than what it is now with this welded on the outside of the dust cover, but it's just an idea I'm toying with at the moment. So I'd have to do quite a few more welds to make sure it's nice and strong rather than just a butt weld, but I think that could be the solution. So instead of welding it there, we'll put it on like that. Anyway, I'll play around with it a bit more and see where we're at. But the handbrake works quite nicely, just activating it with my hand, so good sign. Alright, so finally got the setup on the diff. So this is the actual setup that will work. So we've got GTR caliper, VNSS, HSV brake rotor, VS Commodore drum brake, and then the R31 diff and axle. So ended up having to space this mounting plate away from the factory one by a little bit, but I left a lot of material back in behind there to weld to, so I can get a good weld all the way along here, and then same on the other side. It's supposed to be nice and sturdy, and you can see it's got a good bit of clearance on each side, which is nice. And then down in here, if you can see it at all. Anyway, there's a good gap in here between the disc and the threaded part of the caliper. And the handbrake still works when you're pulling it while you're spinning the disc by hand, so that's a good sign. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The last thing that I need to figure out, I think I need to trim this dust cover just a little bit off each side to fit the bigger caliper, and then the handbrake cable, I need to figure out how to get that into the 31. So I might just use the old drift car as a mock-up for that, but that'll be like the last step, I think. So fingers crossed, this will be the setup I'm running at halfway hangs, so keep an eye out. Alright, so when it's time to weld this together, pretty much what we want to do is aim for this to sit perfectly level and just at the bottom of the two previous caliper mount holes. So obviously this is slightly wider, so just use that as level because they're laser cut. Draw the level on just underneath, and then when you go to weld it on, you can position it there. The reason I leave all this material is so that you can stack off of it, because the mount won't line up otherwise. So just use a couple of these washers along here just to stack it high enough. And then these extra lines here are the ones that I will cut for the caliper to clear this bracket. So I'll sort of give it a chop there and a chop out here, same on this side, and then I'll take that corner off, maybe even take it a little bit deeper. But that should be all you need to do in order to get these to clear, like get the bracket to clear rather. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll weld it all up all around the outside and everywhere I can, and then that's pretty much done. Okay, so I got these all fitted up last night and I'm pretty happy with how they're done. Unfortunately, I'm even on this side and I'm not on that side, so it's a little bit this way, but that's okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. So it's just tacked in there. So I had to space them out just a smidge from this plate. So obviously I'll go through and finish weld everything. So it'll have a big weld across the back here, weld across the top here, and then I might do a little bit around here. So I still need to trim a little bit of that out. And this is just to clear the brake caliper itself. So you can see that brake caliper sits in there. So it just needs a little bit of a trim there, a little bit of a trim there. And I forgot to do this before I welded this on, so I was lazy and just did it with the grinder and cut up my pad and stuff, but that's fine. This is all just to make sure it'll work. Oops. So yeah, that's where we're at. This plate was welded on as per RB Factory's instructions, which were exactly in line with the lower holes, or like the bottom, tangenting the bottom of the two holes on the plate that was here. So obviously I cut them out, but that was where that line was drawn. So I drew that first, welded it on, just tacked it on rather, and then cut that out. So next time I'll draw the line, tack the spacers on, or weld the spacers on, then cut this out, make sure the line's still there, then weld this on afterwards, so that I've got the best chance of getting it accurate I can. So I'm pretty happy with it. As you can see, I had to drill these extra holes. So this one is one of the original ones, and then we've got 1, 2, and 3, that one there, new ones. So I could go through and weld up the old ones, but I'm not too sure I'll bother. Maybe I'll do that one because it's kind of close and a bit thin, that one too. All right, whatever, maybe I'll do it. Anyway, the last thing that I have to do is trim the dust cover to suit, and then this will be done. I'm just going to go around and finish weld it now, and yeah, then I got to do the other side. So let's get into it. Okay, so I just gave the dust cover a little bit of a trim to clear the brackets and the caliper, and it looks quite good. Ignore the terrible welds, but that's pretty much this completed. So we've got the drum here, foot brake there, disc will sit in here. And yeah, the last thing we have to figure out is that handbrake cable, but for now I'm just going to drill the other side out and then weld its bracket on and do the handbrake cable last.